Hey everybody, Matt here, and I come to you with a video about audio editing. I thought it'd be neat to sort of show exactly how we do ours because I've always been super interested in how other people do theirs. And so if that's something that interests you, then by all means keep watching. I'm basically going to go through most of the episode coming out in 5 days or so. It's a nice Sunday morning. I've got a couple of friends here with their voices, and I'm just going to show basically how I set up things and how I edit things and just sort of tips and tricks and stuff, how it goes. I usually work with the 2-monitor setups, so there is usually stuff over on the right side which has some different things like volume control, various plugins that are put in there. I'll bring it over to the other screen whenever I use them just to show you how it's going. But first, this is what the screen looks like whenever I get it. So we record all of our audio, separate tracks. Each person has their own microphone as they sit at the table. And yeah, so I have to take this and eventually combine them all together and, put the extra audio on it and do its magic and stuff. So I'll just sort of show you how that is. If you find that interesting, cool. If you don't, then, it's whatever. But so I'm just going to unarm these. This means they were recording. And I sort of have a ritual on how I sort of set up everything. The first one is that I like to group all of the voices together just because for reasons later, we do a thing called audio ducking, which more or less takes anytime a voice is coming through here, it'll sort of turn down the volume on any other audio we have playing. It makes the voices sound a lot crisper and easier to understand, because before I knew about this, I would always have to turn down the audio really low, just all the way through, just so it wouldn't muddy up the voices. But with audio ducking, you don't have to do that. So basically what I did here was, I'll show you. I created just a blank track, and then I selected all the other ones and just sort of drug them up in there, and it feeds all of these tracks up into the main track. So I just call this voices, and now you can see it sort of combines all them together into just one. The program I'm using is called Reaper. It's been pretty nice so far. We just sort of randomly picked it up whenever we first started the podcast. We just needed something that would record everyone's voices. I mean, we had checked out Audacity, I think is the free one, the open source one. Rory was a big fan of Pro Tools, but he's more or less been using that to record like music and guitars and stuff. But Pro Tools is very, very expensive. Audacity is really, really, it's good for what it is, but it's clunky in a lot of ways. Reaper was $60 for personal use, and it's been, after you get used to it, it's been very, very good so far. But so, yeah, that's just a little background on what sort of software we use. Now that I have the voices all together, I'll have something called sound effects or sounds. And basically what I'll do if I ever have any sounds to put in there. So essentially I have a folder where I just have a ton of stuff inside there. But say I want to drag a sort of background music inside here. We can listen to it. I'll mute or solo it right quick. Oh shit, that's so loud. So usually what I'll do is I'll turn it down until I get it the right temperature. But so you'll see that. So So what I'll do is I'll put this underneath sounds, and so this sort of master track just has all the different sound effects that I have going on inside here. But what I'll also do is set up the sound ducking. So I'll go ahead and do that right now. It's a plugin called Recomp. So what I'll do is we have the voices right here, we have the sounds right here, and there's sort of everyone's tracks. So what I'll do is on the sounds track, I'll put this plugin called Recomp, and it's a compressor. So what that does is, based on an input, if an input gets over a certain threshold, it'll sort of compress whatever sound is going into it. So what I do is I set the threshold to about here. These are more or less dictating how quickly it cuts down the volume and then turns it back up after the threshold has been cleared. This sort of has this preset that I have here basically has it to where it's really quick when it cuts down and back up, so you don't really notice that it's turned down. In other audio things, you'll notice that a little bit after the person stops talking, it'll take a while for the sound, the background music to sort of go back up. I don't really like that. I just like it being basically to where you're not even noticing it, to where the background sound just dips just enough to where the voice becomes much more clear. I'll try to prove it to you pretty soon. So yeah, I'll have the settings here, and then what I do here is I route the data from the voices going into the input of the sound compressing. So now anything that comes up here will be fed into here as the threshold. So as you can see here, you'll see this little bar go up as people's voices go. And if it goes above this line, then you can see that it starts reducing the volume over here. So
this is Party Roll. Welcome to Party Roll. Welcome back. I'm glad that you're back.
Yeah. So essentially, now if we have background music,
and also always bored.
Can I cast Fog Cloud on Felicity?
They'll never know.
So if I were to disable that, so turn off effects.
And also always bored.
Can I cast Fog Cloud on the? You can see how
They'll never.
You can see how it's a little bit harder to understand the voices whenever there's some sort of background going on. So that's essentially what it is. I think it's really neat. Feel free to try that yourself if you're doing any sort of audio editing. I think it's kind of neat, but I don't need this airship Serenity right now, so I'll just remove it. And yeah, I'll go ahead and go setting up the rest of it. So I have my sounds here, so any new sounds I can throw up under here. Now I have a number of plugins to use for all of these guys, so I'll go ahead and show you what those are. Okay, so master track, which is all sounds ever. I have a master limiter. Essentially what this is, it just keeps all of the sound all combined from going too high and sort of topping out, because then it gets garbled and stuff. So have that there. I have on all of the voices right here, I have a plugin called Spitfish De-esser. Essentially what that means is that anybody with their noises, it curbs that to where it's not as harsh. So you don't hear like the whistling and stuff. I'm probably going to put it on my own voice for doing this. You can see how I'm recording my own voice right now. Woohoo! But so it's got a male voice plugin, or sort of default. Yeah, hard and soft. This is just the one, or soft is what I usually use. It works fine. And then for each of the individual voices, I have a sort of a chain that's going on here. Has a number of different things. So EQ. So Rory has been kind enough to sort of give us a rough EQ, how our voices sound a little bit better, nice and crisp. So he basically gets rid of the low end and highlights some other things. I'm not sure exactly what he does. It's magic to me, but he has that. We all have our own compressor on our voices, not as harsh, but essentially it's to keep our loud noises, our dusty screams, from being overwhelmingly loud. So that's why usually during the podcast, if you hear us reacting to someone sort of being loud, like Dusty or Steven's like brr noises and stuff, because it's a lot more loud inside our headphones whenever we're originally recording it than in how it comes out inside the actual podcast. So that's sort of why you have that disparity there. But yeah, so Rory also figured this out. He's the main audio engineer. I'm more or less the person who does the shaping of how the podcast goes itself. But yep, we have a clipper, which not actually sure what it does, but I have a usual here, which sort of keeps it, sort of loudens everybody a little bit. It's for like a volume normalization. So our quiets are a little bit louder, our loud voices are a little bit softer. That's just more or less what it does. And then there's a dialogue denoiser. So what this does is
the best party.
as we talk and stuff, this monitors sort of like background noise, background hisses, AC stuff, and it sort of automatically gets rid of that. This is a really expensive plugin that we eventually bought. If you don't want to do this, there's a way that we were doing it back in like the season 1 days. It's a little bit different, so I can show you that right now. But let me just put the tool chain everybody's stuff. Nope, we don't want Angel. That says effect I put on Mark's voice way back in season 2 whenever he had an Angel. It had a bunch of reverb and stuff on it. But let's just get everybody's stuff on here. Let me just change everybody's presets. So a lot of editing is sort of tedium of this kind of stuff, but it's essential. You need it. Okay, so aside from doing this, what we used to do, I used to be in an apartment that had a whole bunch of just sort of hissing and stuff going on. Get out of here. So without that, you can sort of hear it in the background. See if we can find a quiet moment. Yeah, you hear that? Just sort of that humming and stuff going on. And Steven's smacking of his lips. Well, what I would do to sort of combat that would be to find a actual quiet part. No.
What do you guys think about
I have.
Has to be like dead silent, no other voices going on. See if I can find something. We're kind of a noisy bunch, which is why I eventually opted for the auto learn plugin. I think he cuts off. Here we go. Okay. Turn snapping off. If you have snapping on, then it only snaps to those little gray bars, which I do not like. Need more fine control. Okay, so more or less right there. So what I would do is for the voices, I would put on a thing called, I think it's Reefer. Let me do this. Yeah, so essentially what you can do here is if you go to subtract and then this sort of, you can make a waveform, and then whatever's below the waveform, it'll sort of cancel out and stuff. So what you can do is you can have automatically build a noise profile and then just sort of run it on a piece of audio that has only the background hum. And so now whenever this is canceling this out, I'll show you. So run it. So this is more or less the profile of the hissing and hum that's going on in the background. So now that that's there, if I play this again, it sounds quiet. And only the voices and stuff you can hear are the things coming through. All right. We'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Now, if I didn't have this on here, let me turn off the FX. All right. We'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
So yeah, you can hear that hissing that goes away. All right. We'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
So yeah, I mean, so this is a much cheaper, but kind of a more difficult one because if you do this wrong, if it does have a noise in here, it'll be canceling out someone's voice, and then they sound kind of garbly or kind of messed up. Especially Corey's voice because he has that sort of deep baritone going on. I find his is the most affected by doing things this way. But I mean, this is a cheap, easy way to get rid of background noise and hiss and stuff if you don't want to do it. If you don't want to pay for plugins and stuff. So yeah. So I'll just go ahead and... Okay, so now we can get into the actual editing of the podcast. Yeah, so we'll just go from there. These peak tracks up here, so essentially what happens when we're recording is that Rory has he has some preset samples set to keyboard shortcuts he can use on the computer. So he's sitting here at Reaper monitoring us as we record and stuff. But so things that we listen to real time, like the season 3 intro. He plays that just by pressing a button, and so we can listen to it in real time and sort of react to it and stuff. It didn't used to be like that, but now it is. And then he also has, so that's what that little tiny little dot is for, if you can see it, this line. He also gives us some audio cues, like we were more or less at 55 minutes, at 45 minutes, stuff like that. It sounds like, I think this one's the Metal Gear Solid codec sound.
So yeah.
Oh.
So yeah. So
Yeah.
he
And then this is the air horns. Spend the night.
the hostel.
Can we get J&J's pizza? Or is that not allowed at this?
So yeah. So he has that there. I usually get rid of the one that has the timing ones because we don't need to listen to that. So I just remove it all together. But the intro one stays. And so, yeah. Get this back over here.
Ice water.
Yeah.
You guys seen the movie Mother? What do you guys think about
I have.
Isn't that supposed to be like a whole metaphor for Bible shit?
Yep.
About
Hey,
Mother
welcome to
Earth?
Party Roll Season
Sorry, I
3.
spoiled it
This
for
is
everybody.
Dusty. I'll be playing Bobby Snake.
So you should just cut all this out, unless we have something funny going on. So what I'll do here is I'll just go right before the intro, and then I'll push S for split. I'm going to be using a lot of keyboard shortcuts, but I'll try to call them out whenever I use them. So just split it, get rid of all these, and then I'll just move everything forward. I guess this is a good time to talk about this thing called ripple editing. So since we have a bunch of tracks that all need to more or less be in sync with each other, if I click one and move it back, I mean, that kind of sucks. I mean, right now it's fine if, I mean, I'm just moving them to a solid place that they can all be lined up again. But even just getting off just a tiny bit, you'll hear like an echo because her talking is bleeding into everyone else's mic. And so if it's off by even a tiny amount, you start hearing it be terrible. So that's why Reaper has a thing called ripple editing, which probably exists for other stuff. But essentially what that means is that you can turn it on to where moving one track. There we go. Yeah, moving one track will move anything that's on par with it or after. So if you have like other tracks going on, other tracks down here, it'll all move the same. So I use that extensively. It's a good trick to know. But essentially, yeah. So I have the thing intro starting. I play with its levels a little bit to make sure it sounds okay. I did that already. And then what I'll do also is sort of get rid of our talking over the intro because we're more or less excited just to be together. So, and we're not really talking about the intro until I see Corey start talking over here. So here we go.
Hey, welcome to Party Roll Season 3. This is Dusty. I'll be playing Bobby Snakeman.
Hey, I'm Matt, and I'm playing Pudge the Dwarf.
Hi, this is Vanessa, and I'm playing Prince Dandy Purple Sash.
Hey, this is Steven, and I'm playing Fearless the Dwarf.
I'm Mark, and I'll be playing Perseverance.
This is Corey, and I'm the DM, and this is Party Roll. Party roll, party roll, party roll, party roll. This is party roll, party roll, party roll, party roll, party roll, party roll, party roll. This is party roll, party roll, party roll, party roll.
This is Party Roll. Welcome to Party Roll. Welcome back. I'm glad that you're back. I'd be sad if you weren't.
Hi,
Hey,
listener.
where are we right now?
We're at Matt's apartment.
Okay.
Steven forgets
I-
that very
Needs help
often.
sometimes.
Oh, yeah, I laugh a lot while listening to my friends because I like my friends.
Where are we, guys?
Matt's apartment.
We're-
I knew it.
We're at the
You got
party.
it right that time.
Good job, buddy.
Hey, you got
Right,
it.
high five for getting it right.
Knew he could do it. Well, yeah, we're on the Party Roll. Welcome back, like I already said before. And I'm still drawing pictures for our Patreon, so I'm going to let you guys recap what we did last time.
Last time on Dragon Ball Z. We climbed the steps to the temple.
Okay, I guess this is a good way to highlight. I don't know if I'm going to keep me editing the entire episode in here, but I'll at least have some stuff that I use pretty commonly. One of the key aspects of what I do here is to sort of edit out noises. So it could be people clearing their throat, kicking their mic stand, since we all have, a ton of mic stands just sort of underneath our feet and stuff. So essentially how I do that is that there's a thing called there's a number of different envelopes you can use that would sort of manipulate how these tracks are handled. And the one I use most extensively is the mute one. And essentially what that is I can choose when to mute certain tracks. And that's one of the key reasons why we have separate tracks, because people are making all kinds of noises all the time. And if they were all recorded just together with a single microphone, I wouldn't be able to get rid of those if someone else was talking. So that's why we do that. So what I do here is I just sort of click on all these add mute envelopes to everybody's tracks. So now, like if I wanted to get rid of Steven talking here for some reason,
Last time on Dragon Ball Z.
I can just hold shift and then create these little points on the mute envelope and then just sort of drag it down, and it'll essentially get rid of it. So
Dragon Ball Z.
So that's essentially what it is. But since this takes up so much space, especially when I start getting other tracks down here, then I'll just right click on it and then go to show all track envelopes in media lane. And essentially what it does is just overlays it on top of the track itself. So now if I wanted to mute it, you can see how it sort of goes down and back up. And then as you zoom out, you can see that it's very clearly that in this portion it was muted and stuff. So essentially, yeah. So I heard Mark starting to clear his throat. I'm kind of everybody gets their quirks whenever they do this stuff over and over and over again. So I don't like people clearing their throat, so I'll just take it out. So,
We climbed
yeah, like that. So I'll just get rid of that. So no longer is there.
climbed the steps to the
Got rid of his we.
we climbed the steps to the temple.
We went
Climb
to
Then
Steps.
looked out the window.
yeah.
There was a toad.
That's what
There's a toad. There's Dirk squatting out like right on the windowsill.
Someone was popping a squat
Yeah.
outside. There was
So I heard a sniff. Not him. There we go. It was Jose. So get rid of that. I mean, it may be just tedious and not really worth the time, since I don't think people care, but I care. So yeah, that's why I'm getting rid of it.
there was mushroom people.
Yeah.
We went to a city.
So I heard him sniff again. So I'll just get rid of this.
Mushroom people.
yeah.
And it wasn't him.
Mushroom people. Mushroom people.
Okay, it's just everywhere.
Mushroom people.
yeah.
We went to a city. I
there
feel like
was-
we're going to the touristy trap section.
we realized.
Okay,
trap,
so that was a mic bump. You hear that sort of thump there?
touristy trap section.
I think it's Vanessa. Yeah, so get rid of that. And there's millions of these throughout the episode, just because we're humans that shift around and stuff. So essentially, yeah, that's a lot of what I do here is just get rid of noises.
Touristy trap section.
We realized.
Here's somebody gets
I
a
rolled an 11 to party.
really authentic Myconan food, not the touristy places.
We realized that the inhabitants of the
Man, someone's got to.
inhabitants of the inhabitant the inhabitant
So it's Steven. God damn it. Oh, shit.
the inhabitants of the ancient ruins we are currently in worship the golem whose lung we're currently carrying around.
Yes.
All right, yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
And now we're going to talk to the priest.
All right, yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
And now we're going to talk to the priest to
Yeah.
get more information.
Yeah.
So, are you guys thinking about maybe if he gives us a solid enough story to give him the long, or
No.
We don't know.
No.
to give him the long, or
No.
We don't know.
No.
We don't know.
Hell no. That guy's never getting that
Should
one.
we be concerned that the lung is unattended?
Yes.
I told
That-
Felicity not to give it to anybody, but I don't think she cares.
And I imagine that your horse is even more kind of flippant than you are.
So I heard a bump there. Yeah.
Flippant than you are. So
Immensely.
And also always bored.
Can I cast fog cloud on the on Felicity?
They'll never know.
starts to panic and run around. Just screaming fog cloud out here. You get close to it, it just kicks the shit out of you.
Sounds about right.
Dropping a bunch of giant turds the whole way through, you know. Road apples.
So should we party roll?
Oh.
Let's party roll, guys. Go!
Nat 20.
Roll it.
15.
Nat 20.
Okay, so that doesn't look very loud, but let's listen to that without compression going on. Turn off Steven's compression.
Guys, go!
Yeah.
Nat 20.
Roll it.
15.
Nat.
So yeah, so that's why we have these things to where it's a little bit less jarring, but it still sounds good.
Guys, go!
Nat 20.
Roll it.
15.
Nat 20.
Vanessa parties.
Okay, so yeah, with Nat 20, we usually have Andrew WK playing for party roll. So let's go ahead and drag that in here. So I got my extraneous audio over here filled with stuff. It's just literally just a directory filled with stuff. There's no rhyme or reason to it. So there's probably a better way to categorize all this stuff, but who cares? So Andrew WK, party hard. Add this to the sounds. And I usually I think it's this part. That's what I usually do.
Guys, go!
Nat 20.
Okay. So it's just Nat 20 right there. So I usually have a kick in right there. And then this is more or less just, you can see what it's doing. But if you move your mouse up, you can see that there's like an envelope right here. And this sort of controls the fade in or fade out. So in this case, I want it to fade in a little bit. And you can change sort of the shape. This is a gradual, getting louder first and then tapering off. You can have it to where it starts off low and gets louder, stuff like that. But this is fine. So
Guys, go!
Nat 20.
Roll it.
15.
Nat 20.
Vanessa parties.
Vanessa party's so
She's
hard.
the best party.
Felicity can come to the party.
and then I just sort of taper it off around here. So let's try it again.
Guys, go!
Nat 20.
Roll it.
15.
Nat 20.
Vanessa parties.
Vanessa party's so
She's
hard.
the best party.
Felicity can come to the party.
And that's Vanessa's just going to be doing that dance the entire time. You guys, audience, please make sure you look at the screen to see the dance.
With the left hook. Got him with an uppercut.
I was invited
We
to the
don't
party.
stop. We can't stop. We don't even know how to stop. We can't remember what it's like to stop.
Cocaine, man. Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
I was invited to the party, but I didn't really want to go because I just want to be sad tonight. So
You came in and you stopped. You can't stop at the party.
I pretended I had a thing, but I don't have a thing.
Make me sad tonight.
I got
don't
invited
wanna
to the
go
party.
to the party because I wasn't invited.
And I RSVP'd, but I accidentally ticked the no box, and now I'm too ashamed to go.
Locate you, gum.
All right. So this is the classic example of whenever we just sort of sit for a little while as no one really knows how to progress forward. And I've gotten to the point where I just sort of edit out a lot of that sort of awkward silence that goes on. So what I'll do is I'll line up where I want it to start, and I'll push S to split all tracks. Then I'll do it again over here. And now this middle part I can just get rid of. So I'll turn on the ripple editing. And if I just delete one, it'll sort of delete all of them at the same time and then close the gap. So do that. And then I'll sort of drag them in. And Reaper does this nice thing to where if you have sort of overlapping tracks, what it will do is sort of taper off the beginning track, the before track, and then taper up the after track. And so you sort of get a sort of seamless transition between the two. And if it's silence, then it just sounds like no cut was made at all. So Steven makes his terrible joke, and then we just sort of carry on without ever being awkward about it.
The no box, and now I'm too shamed to go.
Wow.
Look at you, gum.
That was
So a little bit, his wow seems to sound better.
The
Right
no
here.
box, and now I'm too shamed to go.
wow.
Look at you, gum.
That was super
Into the mic.
super depressing, everybody. Yeah, that's actually the best noise you can make. So good. All right, so yeah, last time on the party roll, you guys were doing
Hood rat shit,
hood
probably.
rat.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop it right there. We don't need any more.
You guys were doing
Hood rat shit, probably.
rat shit. You were waiting-
Usually,
You got to the temple. You climbed the stairs. You were told to leave all your weapons down at the entrance.
Don't tell him what to do.
They told you to leave your weapons specifically outside because you were being a little
So when it comes to big coughs and sneezes like that, you can't get rid of it all because it's in everybody's mic essentially. So what I'll do is if I can't cut out that part because someone's talking, I'll just sort of mute everybody who's not the talker. So sounds like Corey's the one's talking. So I'll just try to minimize it as much as possible. So hopefully that cough will just sound a little
weapons
now.
specifically outside because you were being a little sneak.
Didn't help at all, but you know, whatever.
Weapons specifically outside because you were being a little yes. So away from me is the story of the golem. So as he's not gonna just tell you right here. He wants to take you on.
So I know what's coming up. He's going to be speaking about the golem story. You can see everybody sort of gets quiet and then Corey speaks for a long time. And what I'll usually do is try to throw up some royalty-free music up on there that sort of fits the mood. I guess I'll go and show that whenever I actually need it because I need to know exactly what he's talking about to sort of find the right music. But yeah, I will explain that more later. Sorry for stopping.
On a journey. They take you down into the depths of the temple, and you go down a staircase that winds through, and
I want out.
you hit the first room of the story. The story, and it's a dark, cavernous room in the middle of this temple, and on the walls you see that there's actual not hieroglyphics but like imagery of carved out into the wall. It wasn't like carved with tools, but you can tell it was almost like it was water damaged over time to make shapes. So it's kind of crude, but it's an actual outline. And so the story, as the priest explains to you, is that the priest explains to you.
So someone's breathing into their mic.
Explains to you is that the priest explains to you.
Steven. Just go ahead and mute him this entire way.
The priest explains to you is that the great golem Brokir was born of the witches and of the primeval earth, the world, and that he was a great craftsmith. And it shows you from this one panel where ever since for centuries, waiting for the arrival of his return.
What will happen when he returns?
What will happen when he returns?
Yes.
Probably he's going to get revenge on the humans.
How?
Okay, so the story was kind of long, and it wasn't really told in a like a manner. It wasn't him reading scripted words. It was more or less him describing a story, what's going on. But we're gonna put some backing music to it. So what we'll do is I have this favorite website. I'll show it to you in a second. Okay, yeah. So there's a site called Incompetech, which is a website by the great Kevin MacLeod, who essentially is just a dude who creates royalty-free music for anybody to use. He's pretty great. So he has all different kinds of genres. He has all different kinds of feels and stuff. So what I usually do here is I'll just troll through here and try to find something that more or less fits what we're going for. Obviously not that one. Nope. I had found some the other day. Let me take a look here. I usually download them and put them in here. The chamber. Yeah, so I think I may have used this already. Let me go ahead and check. I know I downloaded 2 earlier and 1 for later. So here's an example finished product last week's. So yeah, I used Juniper, which is this.
Filled with all these mushroom people and the myconids. And
Yeah, okay. So yeah, I had taken this one. Yeah, Juniper's right here. Wait, what about this? It's good too. This would be more for see, I feel like this would be good for the history of things, but the style it's told in doesn't really fit that mood. Maybe. I'll try both. A lot of this is sort of just trial and error as you figure stuff out. So I do like this one, though. It's good for what he's talking about, I think. Oh, wait. I may have already used it. The chamber. Oh, so I did.
in more detail is just kind of this shape in the mountain. It's because the main mountain looks like the back of a toad. I mean, it's just this misshapen, bumpy, decrepit mountain that's been there for ages that's just kind of slowly deteriorating into time. But you can notice a giant detail of what almost looks like a person form in the mountain. Like you can almost see like this kind of kneeling figure in the side of the mountain. What almost looks like a head type.
So I have already used that, so I'll go ahead and not use it this time. So we'll see. Let's check out the other one. Impact Linto. Yeah. So I'll go ahead and pull it over here. Shit. If you leave ripple editing on, whenever you drag a track in here, it'll sort of like split shit in half. So you don't want to do that. Turn it off, then drag. So it's not very long. Doesn't fit the whole story, I don't think. So let's see here.
And you go down. Okay, so they take you down into.
That'll be a good start to it, I think. Taking you down into.
Okay, so they take you down into the depths of the temple, and you go down a staircase that winds through, and
I want out.
you hit the first room of the story, and it's
I don't like that. Maybe it works better with the.
it's an actual outline, and so the story, as the priest explains to you, is that the great golem Brokir was born of the witches and of the primeval earth, the world.
That kind of works. If I sync it up a little bit better.
Brokir was born of the witches. Brokir was born of the witches, and it's an actual outline, and so the story, as the priest explains to you, is that the great golem Brokir was born of the witches and of the primeval earth, the world, and that he was a great craftsmith. And it shows you from this one panel where it's just this void with this witch, and the next panel shows you Brokir, this large golem-esque just kind of figure in the middle of the nothingness, and next to him is a large forge, anvil, I guess, and he talks about how with his own breath he would change the stone and the earth around him, and so he was kind of a world builder. And so more than anything, Brokir loved the world and creating mountains, streams, and stuff like that, world building, and basically part of his body. Yes, Stephen.
Is this all just an?
So since Steven has his joke here, I'll usually cut the split the thing, just give it sort of a quick fade out.
Yes, Stephen.
Is this all just an allegory for Minecraft?
Yes, actually, I've been on a 5-year tear of Minecraft. I've been all about it. But yes. So,
Then I'll cut back in once the joke is done. Everyone's made their customary laugh.
but yes, so Brokir, he loves to create the world and mountains, and yes, so. Brokir, he loves to create the world and mountains, and then it goes to another panel, and it shows like two small humans in this panel, and one has a bow, and that's when we come into.
Getting a little strong there. See if he gets past that.
The two human, the twin brothers. The hunt in this panel, and one has a bow, and that's when we come into the
Boy and a pretty boy.
the two evils, the two human, the twin brothers, the hunters. So Brokir, he loves to create the world and mountains, and then it goes.
So I don't like this part here where it sort of builds up and then goes back down a little bit. But I think I can blend them together to where it'll start with this lower pitch.
Loves to create the world.
Into this higher pitched.
That's when we come. That's when we come into the
Boy and a pretty boy.
the two evil. The two evil loves to create the world. Two evils.
So try to sort of make sure this is off. Blend them. See what happens.
Brokir, he loves to create the world and mountains, and
Man, I do not like that.
Brokir, he loves to create the world and mountains, and then it goes to another panel, and it shows like two small humans.
Okay, so where it goes, Two small humans.
2 small humans.
If I can drag this out.
Brokir, he loves to create the world and mountains, and then it goes to another panel and it shows like 2 small humans.
Okay, so I'll explain what I did there. Since I only liked this part and I didn't like it going up, if you hold down Alt, it'll turn into this little fist thing where you can click and drag it. It sort of like stretches it out, rate changing. It doesn't change the pitch, just sort of slows it down or speeds it up. I actually use this a lot whenever I'm trying to make certain elements of a song match up with whatever's happening here. So, for example, what I did just now was that I stretched this out to do the setup and then sort of had this change in the octave correlate with him talking about something else, just so it feels like it sort of fits. And so it's more or less just fiddling and playing around with it until things sound okay. And that's really the best I can give you. I'm not I don't have any technical terms for it, but yeah.
But yes, so Brokir, he loves to create the world and mountains, and then it goes to another panel and it shows like 2 small humans in this panel, and one has a bow. And that's when we come into
A boy and a pretty boy.
the 2 evils, the 2 human, the twin brothers,
Oh, yeah.
the hunters that inevitably killed Brokir, and at the base of the water of the lake that he was at. And so they tricked Brokir into crafting them a magical arrow so that they can protect their peoples, and that's the arrow that they used to murder Brokir and steal his lungs, which created all these wonderful things.
Lungs.
Oh shit.
And so after that, they said that there was a large war between the golems and the people, the humans, and that the humans won. And ever since then, their people have found and came across the corpse of Brokir, and they've been watching it ever since for centuries, waiting for the arrival of his return.
What will happen when he returns?
What will happen when he returns?
Yes.
Probably he's gonna get revenge on the humans.
How do
would
the
too.
mushroom people benefit from this?
So I liked this part, and I liked this part mainly, but it got kind of just undertony and kind of boring. Especially during the part whenever we're explaining that there are 2 brothers that killed the golem and then took his lungs, and then a war and stuff. So what I'm probably going to do is keep this part.
A boy and a pretty boy.
The 2 evils, the 2 human, the twin brothers,
Oh, yeah.
the hunter.
So this sort of is where the transition happens between the undertone part. So I'll just go ahead and fade that out and find something else to fit this portion. And I'll let you know what I find. Let's see. I think I've used that before. I haven't. Okay, let's see if this works.
Hunters that inevitably killed Brokir, and at the base of the water of the lake that he was at. And so they tricked Brokir into crafting them a magical arrow so that they can protect their peoples, and that's the arrow that they used to murder Brokir and steal his lungs, which created all these wonderful things.
Lungs.
Oh shit.
And so after that, they said that there was a large war between the golems and the people.
Nah, I don't like it. This could fit. Okay, I don't know why it's not making the waveform right now. I'll figure it out later. But this is the invariant song, so let's see how we can transition it.
Human, the twin brothers,
Oh, yeah.
the hunters that inevitably killed Brokir, and at the
I don't know if I like that, to be honest.
human, the twin brothers,
Oh, yeah.
the hunters that two evils, the two human, the twin brothers,
Oh, yeah.
the hunters that outline. And so the story, as the priest explains to you, is that the great golem Brokir was born of the witches and of the primeval earth, the world, and that he was a great craftsmith. And it shows you from this one panel where it's just this void with this witch, and the next panel shows you Brokir, this large golem-esque just kind of figure in the middle of the nothingness, and next to him is a large forge, anvil, I guess. And he talks about how with his own breath he would change the stone and the earth around him, and so he was kind of a world builder. And so more than anything, Brokir loved the world and creating mountains, streams, and stuff like that, world building, and basically part of his body. Yes, Steven.
Is this all just an allegory for Minecraft?
Yes, actually, I've been on a 5-year tear of Minecraft. I've been all about it. But yes, so Brokir, he loves to create the world and mountains, and then it goes to another panel, and it shows like two small humans in this panel, and one has a bow, and that's when we come into
A boy and a pretty boy.
the two evils, the two human, the twin brothers,
Oh, yeah.
the hunters that inevitably killed Brokir, and at the base of the water of the lake that he was at. And so they tricked Brokir. No.
Okay, so I still don't know how I feel about this in sort of war drums type thing. It talks about the two brothers
They tricked. They can protect their
doing some
Brokir.
tricking, doing some warring.
That there was
And just this sort of static thing here. I want something a little bit more, a little bit more dynamic. So this isn't going to cut it. Nah, it's boring.
that, and so they tricked Brokir into crafting them a magical arrow so that they could protect their peoples, and that's the arrow that they used.
Nah, too much going on. So it's roughly over a minute. So could we go from this to that?
The two human, the twin
Ooh,
brothers,
Oh, yeah. It's the same key. Let's go ahead and download it, check it out. Noise.
The the twin brothers,
Oh, yeah.
the hunters that inevitably killed Brokir,
Turn it down a
and
little bit.
at the base of the water of the lake that he was at. And so they tricked Brokir into crafting them a magical arrow so that they can protect their
Shit.
peoples. And that's the arrow that they used to murder Brokir and steal his lungs, which created all these wonderful things.
Oh shit.
And so after that, they said that there was a large war between the golems and the people.
So you can hear it sort of drowning out a little bit. So in times like that, what I'll do is I'll lower the threshold by quite a bit, just to make sure the voices are coming through. So we can try that again.
And so wonderful things.
Oh shit.
And so after that, they said that there was a large war between the golems and the people, the humans, and that the humans won. And ever since then, their people have found and came across the corpse of Brokir, and they've been watching it ever since for centuries, waiting for the arrival of his return.
What will happen when he returns?
What will happen when he returns?
Yes.
Probably he's gonna get.
I like that for his return.
And so the arrow that they used to murder Brokir and steal his lungs, which created all these wonderful things.
Oh shit.
And so after that, they said that there was a large war.
So this is where it sort of goes back to normal. Really wish I could see the waveform, but oh well.
Between the golems and the people, the humans, and that the humans won. And ever since then, they're
See if I can line these up.
large war between the golems and the people. After that, they said that there was a large war between the golems and the people, the humans, and after that, they said that there was a large war between the golems. After that,
So I'm just going to solo this for a little bit and just sort of figure out the timing on it. Okay, I feel like that's close. It's a step behind. So right there should be beat one. Okay, that's beat one. Cool. So does that sound with everything?
and so after that, they said that there was a large war between the golems and the people, the humans, and that the humans won. And ever since then, their people have found and came across the corpse of Brokir, and they've been watching it ever since for centuries, waiting for the arrival of his return.
What will happen when he returns?
What will happen when he returns?
Yes.
Probably he's gonna get for centuries, waiting for the arrival of his return.
So, gonna clip this a little bit. Right here.
They've been watching it ever since for centuries, waiting for the arrival of his return.
What will happen when he returns?
What will happen when he returns?
Yes.
Probably
And that's where we want to stop it.
for the arrival of his return.
What will happen when he returns?
What will happen when he returns?
Yes.
Probably he's gonna get for the arrival of his return.
What will happen when he returns?
What will happen when he returns?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna try it from here. See how it goes. This is a lot of what editing is just going over it until it sounds good. So sorry if this is boring, but what can you do?
But yes, so Brokir, he loves to create the world and mountains, and then it goes to another panel and it shows like two small humans in this panel, and one has a bow. And that's when we come into
A boy and a pretty boy.
the two evils, the two the twin brothers,
Oh, yeah.
the hunters that inevitably killed Brokir, and at the base of the water of the lake that he was at. And so they tricked Brokir into crafting them a magical arrow so that they can protect their peoples, and that's the arrow that they used to murder Brokir and steal his lungs, which created all these wonderful things.
Oh shit.
And so after that, they said that there was a large war between the golems and the people, the humans, and that the humans won. And ever since then, their people have found and came across the corpse of Brokir, and they've been watching it ever since for centuries, waiting for the arrival of his return.
What will happen when he returns?
What will happen when he returns?
Yes.
Probably he's gonna get.
I'm gonna add more punch to his return before Jose launches into his thing, so I'll just put some splitty boys here and then drag this out a little bit. And on these guys, I'm going to do a quick fade out. Come on. Go. Then do a quick fade in here. So hopefully the audience doesn't notice that it goes just sort of quiet for a little while.
Waiting for the arrival of his return.
What will happen when he returns?
What will happen when he returns?
Yes.
Probably he's gonna get revenge on the humans.
So that's more or less what happens on any given day. I mean, you just spend a lot of time going over all the audio, figuring out where you want to put musical cues, setting up everything. You can see on our previous projects. One sec. That eventually you'll be done. You'll have everything you want here, and then we have our usual outro that just sort of fades in, And that's essentially it. Then after that, you just render and you're good to go. But that's Matt's editing corner in a nutshell. Hope you liked it. Probably not going to do this again, but I just, like I said, I like to see how other people do their things. So I thought I would share how I do my thing. I haven't really sat down with anybody to see how exactly they do it. So everything that I've done is just sort of like homegrown and figured out for myself. But yeah, if you have any tips or tricks or like any other things, if you like this, I don't know, smash that like button. I'm just kidding, I don't need it. But yeah, hope you liked it. Guess I'll see you on Friday whenever this comes out. Anyways, take care.